Well, Rave might have had the exclusive, but Chuck Espinoza gave us a good 40 plus minutes of his time. It's the All Things TechIE Podcast, episode 62.
The All Things TechIE Podcast is a product of the Extreme Media Network. For advertising and sponsorship opportunities, please visit www.extrememedia.ie. That's XTREME media.ie.
Chuck actually blew up the AV internet yesterday, or maybe about 2 or 3 days ago, by announcing that as of Wednesday he will not be an AVIXA employee, and everyone thought, no, he's having a joke. Even I thought he was having a joke, but he joined us on the All Things TechIE Podcast, episode 62. I didn't get to break the news. I feel very, very hurt that I wasn't allowed to break the news, but I haven't for longer in a podcast. We've already spent the past nearly 40 minutes talking about AV stuff, because that's what we do when Chuck and I get together. But Chuck, what happened? I think your phone hasn't stopped with the same question.
Oh yeah, my phone has been. It's literally every night it's melting, and it's actually melting right now. It's going. I get buzzes and beeps from LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook and texts and emails. Yeah, I'm changing jobs. I'm going to teach somewhere else, and I know that was a big shock for people, because I am. A lot of people. And first of all, I got to say I'm very thankful to the AV community and to all of our everybody I work with, the people at AVIXA, the people in the AV community that have been nice enough to come to my classes and participate in the sharing of knowledge and the sharing of AV education. So I want to say thank you first to everybody. The support and the outreach has been incredible. I really have felt truly like loved and supported by the industry. So thanks to everybody. A few years ago, AVIXA went through some changes. AVIXA decided to restructure, and along with that restructure, we restructured the education department, going with a new model, and I gave it a shot. And we talked about how we were going to do AV education, trying a couple new things, and it was very hard. It was a lot more work. There's less people, and this happened a lot with people during the pandemic. You lost a lot of good people during the pandemic. Everybody did, and so gave this a shot. Really gave it a 100%, college try. And after so many years, I figured out that this just wasn't the direction that I would like to go. And I talked to management about it. I talked to our department, and I know the reasons they're doing this. I know the reasons they're going in the direction they are going. And I wasn't completely on board with it. And I'm not one to stay at an organization and say, well, unless you do it my way, I'm going to cause a bunch of issues and not do this and that. Like, I see what they're doing. I see the way they're going. And if that's the direction they want to go, I wish them nothing but luck and nothing but, success. That's just not for me.
And it came out at the exact same week where there has been so much upset in the technology industry, between Elon Musk locking people out of Twitter, Facebook deciding to half its staff nearly as well, or do a big axe and grind against its staff, and then Chuck announces this in a very cryptic LinkedIn social media type of way, and everyone's thinking, whoa, is AVIXA letting go of more staff? But no, this has been a personal decision for you.
Yeah. It's just me saying, you know what, I tried it. I really gave it like I said, a good think, and really, I want to make sure when I make a decision to part ways with someone that I've tried everything I possibly could. And there's no hard feelings. There's no like, I have a party today. They're throwing me a party, a going away party. And I'm still teaching at the show. I'm still helping as a volunteer with education, with certification. I'm working with the AVIXA Women's Council right now currently to, excuse me, to develop
That's
a
going to be
study group.
we're going to just hold that as your line of I'm working with the AVIXA Women's Group. That's amazing.
Well, I mean, so the AVIXA Women's Group approached me and said, we want a bunch of the women in the AVIXA Women's Group want to get their CTS. They want to do it at the show. We don't know how to get from point A to Z. We need help. And I said, sure, no problem. This is what I do. I'd love to help you guys. Temi Fukwe is a great friend of mine. Hope Roth, one of the women that are helping out with the instruction. Hope and I go way back, man. We're really good friends. So of course I'm going to do whatever I can. I'll do whatever I can to help anybody get certified. You know this, man. Yes. I will talk to you at night. I will chit chat with you on Saturdays and Sundays. So when somebody comes and says, we have this group that needs help, of course I'm going to help them. So I've been helping them develop a study program with different instructors coming in to talk to them. And for the women's group, we really did try and keep it female centric. So we have different female instructors coming in to talk to them and finding people who have different specialties in the areas. They've tried study groups before, but it was just like, hey, let's get together and study. And that doesn't work so well because some people get in and they say, well, I don't really need this thing or whatnot. I need a specialized.
I've tried that with the CTS I took. Study groups doesn't work, especially if you're going across time zones and have family and stuff like that. It's easier to, So that you're hinting on something there. You might be moving on, but you seem that you will be still doing training for AVIXA in different ways, shapes, and forms.
Well, yeah. When you think of AVIXA, one of the things you think about is AV education. That's one of the biggest benefits of being an AVIXA member. And regardless of how I feel about the restructuring or maybe a way they want to go with their mission, if they want to go a different way, or if they want to do something different that I didn't agree with, and I will scream this from the top of the mountaintops, is I'm here to teach the AV community. Always. I'm here to learn from the AV community. I'm here to get together with members and see what knowledge that is plaguing them. And if I can help, that's what I want to do. And just because I don't like a business decision, or I don't agree with a business decision, and I don't want to argue with that business decision, it doesn't mean I'm going to take that away from the industry. And that's what I talk to a lot of my fellow instructors, volunteer instructors, adjunct faculty. Like, I'm not going to stop trying to help the industry for anything. If I left AVIXA and went anywhere else, like I don't care if I started a job as a truck driver, I'm still going to teach AV because that's what the industry needs, and that's what the industry wants, and they're hungry for it. And I think that not volunteering with AVIXA, it's not. First of all, I'm not upset at AVIXA. There's no hard feelings at all. I love everybody there, my AV family that we work with side by side. We still get along great. There's no, like, I'm not mad at management or anything like that. I talked to Pam yesterday and we laughed and gave each other hugs, and there were tears. There's no bad feelings at all. But I don't ever want the AV industry to not have an outlet to go to when they say, I need help.
Because you have become, after Tom, you have become, well, Tom and yourself and Marcus, you're all different personalities that made the training team. And of course, like during COVID, there was a bit of job cuts, and Marcus gone off his way, Tom's gone off his way. But when I know you hinted offline to me that like Marcus could be joining you and so forth, and we weren't allowed to announce anything, and I had to keep my mouth shut when Gary Kay had the rights to the exclusive. But I watched that yesterday on LinkedIn, and I think the best comment that came through was, "Oh, holy shit, it's Marcus joining Chuck in Aura if Tom comes along here, I'm going to fall off my sleep. I think everyone was going to fall off their seat if Tom came into that chat right there and then.
Yeah, Tom's happy at Almo. Oh man, I'm telling you, my phone, everything is just blowing up.
I'm not cutting this out. No, I think it's great that
every like every device I have is just, it goes off.
It's not AVIXA calling you going, please reconsider, please.
No. It's it was another industry member just calling to wish me congratulations. It's actually Caleb Nelson, one of the adjunct faculty from AVIXA, a very good friend of mine.
Yeah, the one that you got rolling cable for many years.
Yeah. So he's just, I'm sure he's just calling to say, hey, bro, like, good on you.
So what is exactly is the title, Chuck, of the new role?
So the new role's title is Global Director of Education. I'm going to be developing education, and we are, Aurora is a global company.
Mm-hmm.
We have distribution all over the world, and the same problems plague people in the UK and in Europe and in Mumbai and everywhere else that plague in the US. So let's take this on the road and figure out what's plaguing people, and then figure out a way to teach people how to diagnose that and how to fix those things.
I know Marcus is very shy, and I asked Marcus would he join us on this show, and he said, no, I'll leave it up to Chuck.
So here's a little secret that a lot of people don't know. When Marcus and I were working at AVIXA together in the same office and stuff, I get a lot of credit for stuff because I come on podcasts and talk on Facebook and stuff. If it wasn't for Marcus, I would literally be laying in a ditch somewhere in Amsterdam. Marcus keeps me on track. Marcus, like, a lot of times I'm thinking 1,000 miles a minute, and I miss stuff, and I miss sometimes important stuff. And when I turn around to say, holy crap, I miss the important stuff, there's Marcus with the package of important stuff going, I already took care of it, dude. Like, and Tom, here's another thing I got to say is Tom Care. Okay, first of all, Tom Care is my mentor. Tom Care is also one of my heroes. I got into being an instructor because of the tutelage of Tom Care. And Tom doesn't get a lot of pats on the back either. He's very humble. He has a lot of humility. He doesn't blow himself up. Tom knows 10 times the amount of knowledge that I do, both about AV and about education, the science of education. Tom gets no recognition because he sits in the background. He does his thing. He teaches people. And when it's time for the back pats to be doled out, Tom pushes everybody else forward. So, Tom and Marcus both are giants when it comes to knowledge and being able to get knowledge across. I get the kudos because I'm here on the podcast and I post stuff on social, and I get out there on Twitter and I talk to people and meet people. Those guys, I'll tell you, they put in as much, if not more work than I do when it comes to educating people. So I just want to make, a lot of people have been saying, Chuck, you're doing this, Chuck, you're doing that. Is Marcus going to work for you? Marcus is coming to work. They hired us as a team. And that was one of the things they said, when they first approached us, they said, we want to hire you both and you're going to be equal in this thing. And we need to be, because we have different skill sets. Mm-hmm. Marcus is a coding phenom and he knows networks like nobody's business. I don't. I'm not the network guy. I am not the coder. I know a little bit, just like everybody else. You need to know stuff nowadays, but I'm the one that deals with physics. I'm the one that deals with the math. I'm the one that deals with project management and project workflow. So what we have together, that team of Marcus and I, is we cover all the bases. Now, Marcus, it doesn't mean Marcus doesn't know about physics or math or project management, but his skills in networking are so far above mine that's his thing. And if I need to back him up on that, I can. He can give me the little stuff, right, for networking. But when it comes to that, hey, how do we punch out this code? That's going to go right to him.
Let's go back on what you said about, like, if it wasn't for Marcus, you'd be in a ditch in Amsterdam after an IC. Well, I think the same goes for, like, maybe Marcus is like the big brother looking after you, but you're the big brother looking after Jeremy, who's behind you. Like,
yeah. Well, Marcus is definitely I wouldn't say big brother, little brother. It was like we're twins. It's just I'm shorter, you know.
Okay.
But I mean,
But you still kick his ass.
no. We look after each other, and it's just I get bombarded with people because I'm out on social media more. And so Marcus, the great thing is I don't ever have to ask him for help. He can see when I'm getting underwater, and he can feel it. And like, this is why we make such a great team. Like, I'm starting to talk to people and stuff's going on in the background. It's going to start catching me. And he's like, nope, you're not going to get that. And like, this isn't going to catch up and sneak up on you. And he's always got my back every single time. I don't have to ask for it. I don't have to think about it. Like, he's always got my back. I remember one time, and this exemplifies the whole thing. We were teaching flash tracks, right, at ISE. And so I was teaching. I had to do an interview with AV Nation, and then the tweet up was afterwards, and it was all bam, bam, bam. And walking across the Rye was like it took like 20 minutes.
Yeah, don't miss that.
So I left my backpack, which had my room key and all my stuff, in the flash track booth. And that was kind of home base for us. So I taught, and then immediately after my class, I said, okay, I've got to bolt. So I left all my stuff in there, bolted to the AV Nation, did the interview with AV Nation, and then it was the last interview of the day. We have to get to the tweet up. So I go right to the tweet up, and I get to the tweet up, and I'm talking, and time's getting away. And I'm like, holy crap, man, it's 5:30. Like, they closed the booth half an hour ago. My backpack's in there, all my stuff, my phone, my keys, my wallet, everything's in the booth, locked up. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to find somebody. my phone, I don't even have my phone. I don't know what's going. And I turn around to figure out what I was gonna do, and there's Marcus, and he's handing me my backpack, and he goes, yeah, I didn't know where the tweet up was, so I went to the AV Nation thing, because I know you're at AV Nation, and they're like, he went to the tweet up, and the tweet up's over here, so I kind of found you. Like, dude,
Yeah.
you found me at a random place in the Rye. He's like, yeah, I had to walk. I walked to this other place first. I thought you might be there, and I came back. Like he didn't think about this is going to be a pain in the butt or anything. He just did the thing, and he knew, like, I was talking to people, doing PR, all the stuff, and he just covered my back.
Do you see the two of you growing your team now? Or is it too early of days to say that? Would you like to grow the team more?
I would like to grow a team more. We have to see what's going to be right for the company. If we get into it and we start doing everything that we need to do, and because we do have a plan. We have a very specific plan for all the educational stuff, and we can accomplish everything we need to, and we don't need another team member. I don't want to hire somebody just for the sake of hiring somebody. If we come down the road and Paul says, hey, that's great, we've done all this stuff, now I want to expand, and we need to bring another person on because there's going to be more work. Paul's really smart in knowing, if you give somebody too much work, even if they start doing it and taking on stuff, there gets to be a point of diminishing return where you have more work than you can do quality, right?
Yep.
And they say you have like 10 pounds of bologna on a 5-pound sandwich, like the bologna starts falling off, and work starts getting bad. So if it gets to the point where we have too much stuff and we need to hire another one, we'll talk to Paul. And if you have too much work, that's a good thing. That means we're doing a lot of stuff. So if it gets to the point where we're doing that much stuff and we need another person, yeah, we'll expand. We'll talk to them about expanding.
We talked offline, Chuck, like the major difference between Aura and its competitors, and we don't even need to name the competitors. We'll leave that up to the AV listeners to gather what the competitors to Aura is. It's open source. It's going to be like in Ireland, I don't see much Aura stuff. We're dealing with the big guns of Crestron and AMX, maybe some Extron stuff in higher education, but predominantly Crestron. And one pet hate of mine all the time is if you want to get Crestron programming, or if you want to get the simplest of Crestron things done, you need to join the Freemasons or something like that. And that's no offense to the Freemasons or Crestron, but it's just too tight, and trying to find programmers. And working in higher ed, this is where I would like to go down the route of going, yeah, I want something that if I want to change the source code, I can change the source code. I can power this thing on and off, and I can write my own code. Yeah, some other AV companies do that too. Do you think that's going to be a lot of your training videos and your training going forward for?
So I'll tell you what I do is the way I'm approaching building a training department, building education is just like I approach a project. The very first thing before I say, I'm going to do this, I need to see what needs to be done. So I mean, you would never go into an audio visual project saying, okay, design me a system and have designers start designing a system. The very first thing you need to say is what needs to be done. What do we need to accomplish? What's going to make us successful in this endeavor? So, I mean, if I just said, design me a system, you say, oh, I got this big video wall and all this other stuff and audio processing for THX surround. Like, I just need a huddle space. Like, I want to make it seriously.
Yeah.
So the very first thing we're going to do, and I talked to Paul about this, and we talked to Marcus, we need to figure out what needs to be done. So we are talking about going through all the customer service logs, gathering data analytics on what are people calling to Aurora about, saying, I have problems with this. And the first place you go is customer service, right? Like that's when it hits the fan, so to speak, people call customer service. Customer service keeps logs, they put tickets in for this very reason. So I want to go through all the customer service calls that they've had for, a few years and gather the data on this. Is it environmental? Is it a lack of understanding of how to set the equipment up or what the equipment actually does, or, whatever the problem is? There could be 100 different problems. I want to find out what the problem is, and then I want to fix the problem. And then, so we'll find out what the biggest problem is and do education for that, and then find out what the next biggest problem, and just go down the line. A very logical approach to designing an educational program. So once we have this stuff designed and implemented, and we start seeing these problems go away, when you have the little problems and you say, okay, we can, it's kind of like this, kind of like that, or we can send you to this site to get more education on this thing, then we can start developing maybe equipment or non-manufacturer type training, where it's, hey, what does a network do? Not just our network, but any network. How does it work? What are the different layers? And we're talking about, in how transports work, how your data gets through is, you start with segments, and then packets, and then frames, and then bits. And a lot of people don't know that. And when we start looking at how where our data is getting bogged down at, because I mean, it's all data now. We're getting video signals and audio signals, and we're changing them into data, into bits. What type of bits? HD-based-T is not Ethernet. AV over IP is Ethernet. So it's going to break it down to packets. HD-based-T, different technology. Let's figure out where the data is binding up, what's making it not fast, and let's fix that. And that, if that's an environmental thing, if it's your network, or it's like my network right now, I don't know what's going on with it. It's actually my computer. It's not my network, because your video is coming in crystal clear. I'm looking at my upload, and I have like 10 megs a second going up, but I look like max headroom in my thing. Where's that going? And I'm getting a bunch of, like, my hard drive keeps going offline. I keep getting these notices. So I probably have to reboot.
I hope Aura's, like, do you have to give all this equipment back to AVIXA now that you're left?
Oh, I've taken all the AVIXA equipment back. This is all, and most of the time, unless it's super expensive, I buy my own equipment. I'm a big fan about that. Yeah. I know Aurora's gonna have some demo equipment for me to bring home, and Marcus, and we're gonna lab it out. Like I have a whole lab at my house. So
that sort of brings me on to that question. Like, just before COVID, and when you visited Dublin, that's when you talked about buying this new ranch of yours. You've been living in the ranch. You've been secluded on the ranch during lockdowns. Like, no one's near me for miles and miles. I have my dog. I have my animals. With the headquarters being in New Jersey, you won't have to relocate. You're going to still be working.
Now I'm going to be working from home, and Jersey's only a 4-hour drive for me.
Yeah.
That's enough. I mean, I drive all over the place. I love driving. It's cake. And Marcus just lives a couple hours away from me. So, Marcus actually watches my dog when I go out of town, and I'll hit my dog, and his dog are great friends. So he could bring his dog over to my place. Marcus comes over and hangs out every now and then. I'll probably go down to his place and hang out sometime because he has a pool. But with the company headquarters in Jersey, it's a quick drive if I need to actually go up and get stuff from the factory or work with stuff in the factory. But most of the time, I mean, we're talking about ones and zeros. We could do it like we're doing this now.
Yeah,
As
true.
long as
Very true.
I'm not max headroom.
Now you used to talk to me about the boxes and boxes of Lego in your house. Are you keeping that for your daughter?
Yeah, my daughter has all the Legos. She's actually had all the Legos for the last year or so. She likes to build stuff. I don't know if you've seen Facebooks of I Facebook stuff with my kid all the time.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually getting into tools now. Like, she's 9, and she's been building log benches for the outside fireplace. She built me shelves for my kitchen. She changed the oil in the Hummer. Like, she's getting into daddy's toolbox. So the Legos are fun. And I think it was good for her to, start when she was 5 and 6, like creating different things and figuring out, hey, I can make this. And she does Roblox and things like that now. But she's actually starting to get into, hey, this is like, I can work with Unistrut and All Thread, and she's learning different hardware names. And we go, and she's like, hey daddy, if we get some of that and some of this, can I build this other thing? I'm like, yeah, sure, let's get that. And I've got a garage full of tools, and I have a lab, and my kid's a chip off the old block. She wants to build stuff. So I never turn that down. Hey buddy, you want to build this? Yeah, let's go figure it out. The greatest thing I ever heard from her is for Father's Day, a couple of years ago, she said, what do you want for Father's Day, Dad? And I said, I want shelves in the kitchen. She said, I don't know how to do that. And I said, okay, we can go into the garage, and I have wood and I have stain and stuff, and I can show you how to build shelves. Would you like to do that? And she goes, we could just make stuff. I could just make stuff. And I said, yeah. And she goes, cool. I want to make it. I don't know how, but I'm going to learn. You're going to teach me, and I'm going to make it. So now I was like, hey kid, I have to change the oil in the Hummer. You want to watch? And she's like, can I help? Yeah, you can help. And then the next time I'm like, hey, I got to change the oil in the Hummer. She's like, oh, can I do it? Can I take off the drain pan? Can I, take off the oil filter? And then the next time it's like, hey, why don't you take that oil filter off while I go get the oil? I'm like, okay.
I love that.
So like, she just does stuff, and I encourage her doing stuff. So yeah, she has the Legos, doesn't play with them a lot anymore because we have like cars to work on.
What are you going to miss the most? Like, you've been how many years with AVIXA now? 15 more?
No, half that. 7.5. Tom was there 15. Okay, I'll tell you what I missed the most. And what I missed the most is what happened 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, when Tom, Marcus, and Chrissy and I were a team. A team is not somebody you work with. A team is people you trust. And when they let everybody go for the restructuring and kept me, I lost my team. And the thing I miss about being in the Marine Corps, if I could still be in the Marine Corps, I'd still be in the Marine Corps. Today's Marine Corps birthday, by the way. Hoorah, Semper Fi. Thing I miss about being in the Marine Corps, and the thing I really loved about working at AVIXA, was the camaraderie that I had with my team. I'll tell you, one of the big things that made me choose Aurora is they said, we want to hire you and Marcus both. I've talked to companies, I've talked to different manufacturers and different places before, and they said, we want to hire you, we'll pay you this much, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, oh, that's a good offer. That's a good offer. Let me think on it.
When you hire a friend and a colleague, it's totally different. It is.
It's not, and he's not just a friend and a colleague. The way we work together, like I was saying before, the way we think, it's like you have 3/4 of a puzzle, and there's 3/4 of a puzzle, and it makes more than just, or half a puzzle and half a puzzle. It makes more than just one puzzle. I was making Rice Krispie treats, and I'm like, hey man, I'm gonna make some Rice Krispie treats, and yeah, I'm gonna make them bacon flavored. So I'm gonna actually,
Bacon flavor.
yeah, bacon Rice Krispies. So I'm gonna get bacon bits and put them in the Rice Krispie treats. And Marcus said, well, you have to use fat, and they use butter. How about instead of 2 cups of butter, you put a cup of butter and a cup of bacon grease? And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And you know what I could do is I could drizzle
heart attack on a plate, but there you go.
And I was like, I could drizzle chocolate too. So I like chocolate covered bacon. And Marcus said, yeah, not just drizzle chocolate, but sprinkle some sea salt. And I was like, oh my God, I have the perfect Rice Krispie treat. The bacon on the inside, chocolate on the outside with a little bit of sea salt. You get your sweet, your salty, all mixed in together and on top. So that's the way we always have done things. It's like, or Marcus would say, I have this idea. And I'm like, yeah, and you can do this other thing. He's like, oh yeah, and with that, I can do this other thing. So
what you're telling me is you're both a bad influence on each other.
Yes. Well, we feed off each other's ideas. And Tom was like this too. We fed off each other's ideas, and we made more than we could have just made by ourselves, or just sticking 2 random people together.
I see Tom sitting back in the corner just watching, going, okay, you go off and kill yourselves, guys.
Well, the beauty about Tom is we would make a thing, and Marcus and I would exhaust our options or our ideas, and Tom would be like, okay, you missed this, this, and this, and you forgot about that thing. And we're like, oh crap, how do we do that? So like, it was great because Tom had paid so much attention to detail about everything. So we would come up with the good and flashy thing, or this cool thing that we could do, and Tom would say, okay, now these 4 things need to be fixed. And we're like, oh yeah, you're right. So the thing about Aurora, when Aurora approached me, the very first thing they said is, we don't just want to hire you, we want to hire you and Marcus. And that's what made my like, and that right there, that's a big statement. And that statement says, a lot of people said, we want an education department, we want you to come build our education department. I'm like, okay, that's cool. What they said is, we are serious about this thing, where we want not just you, but we want this other extremely heavy hitter to come in, and we know it's going to be expensive, and hiring 2 people to build a department right off the bat. But like, we've heard how you guys work, and people have seen and told us about how you guys work together. Like, that right there showed me a ton of commitment. Like, not just to hire one person to start a department or to start a thing, but to hire this team to do this, because the team works well and knows how to do it well. Like, talking to Paul last night, talking on the phone, Paul said, yeah, we're going to go over what kind of computer you want and all the things you need. And really my first thought in my head is, well, I have the biggest thing I need right now, and I already have it, and it's Marcus. Like, there is nothing in this world that will stop the 2 of us. Nothing. Give me a little laptop, give me an iPad, let me work off a phone. That's okay. If it's the 2 of us together, we will tackle it. We'll take it on. We got each other's back. Like, and I feel very privileged and very honored that everybody says, hey, you're going to be doing this, and you're going to be doing that, and you're going to be doing this. And it's not just me. Like, I couldn't do half this stuff without those guys. Especially without Marcus. I couldn't, half the things I did at AVIXA, Marcus and Tom, man, the saying hits true. If I can see further, it's because I'm standing on the shoulders of giants.
True.
And that's really it. Like,
you're going to be a big person, big boots to fill in AVIXA. Now, it's not for you really to say, but you have the 3 CTS accreditations, the CTS, the CTSI, and the CTSD, which are ISO certified qualifications. So surely AVIXA is going to have to replace you and have some type of training team for these qualifications.
Again, that's going to be up to the management and what they want to do with that. I can't speak to what their plan is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do. I know me leaving changed a lot of things, but I'm sure they have good, smart people there. I'm sure they're going to work it out. I'm sure AVIXA is not going to die on the vine. Education is not going to die on the vine. There are too many people who are passionate about it in our industry. Just look at all the people that teach it 3-day. Jeremy Caldera, my best friend in the world, is back here with me on AV Roki. My best friend in the world, he's a passionate instructor. He won't let it die on the vine. Justin Watts, Bill Natras, another one of my mentors and heroes in this industry, a person who really another person who took me under their wing, who I always have to give credit for. There's so many instructors, Joe Cornwall and Jim Maltese. And I mean, I could go on, the list goes on forever. And then the new cats we have coming up, right? Caleb, who just called me on the phone. Caleb taught NAVs last year and he loved it. And I've started Caleb off when he was 17.
What I'm seeing then, Chuck, is now, again, you're not speaking on behalf of AVIXA. I'm just using my own impression here. It seems that it could be more the approach of people that are very skilled, experienced, that have the accreditations, volunteering to run these type of classes and courses on behalf.
Well, they've always volunteered.
Well, they've always had. Yeah,
they volunteered for the show, and I think it's, again, I don't know what the plan is. I know there are a lot of people who are very passionate about getting the knowledge and information out for the sake of the knowledge and information. Now, I've had a talk with Kevin Asili, who's another immensely talented instructor. A lot of people want to teach and they know AV stuff, but there's a whole science to instruction. You have to know the science of instruction. You have to know.
Not everyone's a teacher. Not everyone's a teacher.
Well, and some people can be teachers, excuse me, but they're not formally trained, or they don't know the science of instruction.
Yeah.
They don't know what Bloom's taxonomy is. They don't know how to develop a certain learning model. They don't know how to diagnose the different learning styles, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, from just talking to people. And Tom's great at this. Kevin's great at this. Marcus is phenomenal at this. This is one of the methods, the VAC method, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, that I used in my class all the time. And we discuss these things. There are not many people in the industry that know this science. And even some of the instructors that do it for a long time, they do it and they just don't know that it's a science. They just do it naturally. So there's we can teach instruction. You can teach somebody how to be a teacher. You can teach somebody how to be a subject matter expert. Meshing those two sciences together of AV and instruction, that's where the thing comes in, because it's like, I know all this stuff about AV and I want to talk to you, but if I start talking to you, I start talking about AV and it goes over your head and you're not learning. That's not instruction. That's just talking to make myself sound smart. If I'm just talking about technology and you're not getting it, that's not instruction. So it's having to actually dial yourself as an SME back to make sure that the content that you're giving to them is digestible and they actually get it. Adults don't need knowledge. Adults need to learn how to solve problems. So they have this knowledge and this knowledge. They need that tie in between. And that's really what I tried to do, is say, okay, you have this knowledge and this knowledge, let's mash it together and make something different or make a solution. And that's what the instructors really try to do, Tom and Marcus and Kevin.
And I think you're hitting a very important nail on the head here, is that you see with a lot of AV companies that have training programs, it's a lot of some, and we don't need to name companies, but when I watch them, it's very much buy our product, and then you can see what it does. And it's like, yeah, but that hasn't taught me, the fundamentals of plugging in this HDMI cable to get it up on screen, for example, in layman's terms. And that's a crucial message, and hopefully something that Aura will deliver with yourself and Marcus going forward. Going back to the trade shows, the ISEs, the Infocoms, you've always been the guy that never stops at a trade show, because you've been in charge of the training department. You'd be probably running a CTS course, you'd be running other workshops and everything. How different is it going to be, do you think, when you attend ISE in February and you're not a AVIXA, you're going to be wearing a different hat on the day?
I don't know. Truthfully, that's one of the things that's exciting. It's one of the things that I'm going to be doing a different role. I'm not going to be the association's AV prof or educator anymore. I have things to concentrate on that I have to do, and one of the things is I want to make sure that people working for a manufacturer now, I want to make sure that people know what the manufacturer can do, how we can benefit them, and what things we can do. I don't really get into our stuff is better than your stuff. I get into our stuff can solve your problems. And again, that's what I've always been about, is how do we solve these problems? That's what education is about, is how do we solve these problems? And just like you said, again, one of the reasons that I went with Aurora is Paul didn't talk about, I want to teach people how to use our gear. He said, I want to teach people how this stuff works in their environment. Mm-hmm. And that's a big statement, not just how my equipment works, how my equipment works in your area. And like, this box might not be the thing that you need. It might be a different box. Let's look at the environment. Let's look at the technology. Let's look at the content. And taking that holistic approach, that's how I taught at AVIXA. You can't just look at technology. You can't just look at environment. You can't just look at content. Content's one of the things that gets overlooked. If I'm trying to put 4K down Cat 5e, it's not going to happen, or it better be about that long, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to look at content, because your box can work at 720, 1080, but we hit 4K and something's not working. The box isn't working. Well, it's not the box's fault. You didn't design your infrastructure correctly. Mm-hmm. And, it's those things that are getting people. So again, I'm not saying, well, this is what we're going to fix first. I want to go see what's plaguing first, what's plaguing the customers, plaguing the AV community first with Aurora's equipment or with their customer service, what they're really getting hit on. And this is not just Aurora, it's any manufacturer. People don't use the stuff right, and the box is bad. So let's see what the customers are having problems with, and let me make education and an educational department geared around the customers.
Are you looking forward to
the customers?
Sorry,
Once
I was going to say, are you looking forward to more being able to go on the trade show floor than be stuck away in the classroom?
That's a good question. I don't know. I got on the trade show floor a good bit with after I was done teaching the 3-day. I walked around, talked to people. I did some time in the study hall. Before pre-pandemic. We traded off at the study hall, and even before we had a study hall, I walked around and talked to people. And again, one of my things is I talk to people. Hey, what do you guys want to learn? Right? What do you need to learn? Hey, I don't know what this OSI model does and how it affects my AV install. Okay. And then, we had more talks about AV over IP, and then we take that back and say, hey, we need to do AV over IP classes. We need to do more networking classes. We had people say our infrastructure is killing us, but we're not RCDDs. We don't really know what's going on. Mm-hmm. So, okay, we need to bring that into the classroom. How do we relate that to AV, and how can we make content that people can digest as AV professionals? I'm going to make a big statement right now. Okay, you get the scoop on this statement. Not really, because I say it a lot, but hold on.
Gary K, are you listening? Scoop on statement. Go.
Okay. First off, Gary's a good friend of mine.
I know. I'm joking.
And I actually called Gary and we talked, and he was like, hey, I got to scoop this dude. I'm like, yeah. Gary and I present together a lot. Gary's actually, we were on a bus in Nashville at the E4, and it was my birthday, and Gary got the entire bus to sing me happy birthday. Oh. Like, he's a good friend. Yeah, but I'll tell you right now, I am teaching people not to make category cables in the field. And this is a big thing. Everybody goes, hey, we want to know how to make a LAN cable. We want to know how to make a category cable in the field. I'm like, stop doing that. Stop. Putting 8 PHC ends on the end of a cable, like, that's where we lose all our bandwidth. People don't do it right. Buy the store-bought certified cables and put a punch down block. And I was going through with our curriculum developers, and they're like, people want to know how to do this. I'm like, stop doing that. Peter Coleman, a long time ago made me promise, because I really like Peter Komen's RCDD, great dude, Pete the Tech Man Komen, and love you, brother. And I saw the error of my ways trying to teach how to make a LAN cable, right? And Pete said, no, RCDDs, we punch those down. We punch down a horizontal cable, use the right terminology, punch down a horizontal cable, use a patch cable. And like, I was in AV. I just pulled the cable through the wall, put the end on it and put it through my thing and it worked. Well, when it stopped working, that's when I really had to research like what's going on with this thing. And that's when I found out, oh, we're doing it wrong. We need to do it like the IT people do it, because our signals now aren't analog video waves or analog audio waves. Our signals are ones and zeros, and they've been doing this so much longer than we have.
Mm-hmm.
So like, to actually get the benefit of full bandwidth and getting our signals through, we kind of have to do it the way they do and stick to those specs. And as soon as that, like, I saw the light of what Pete was telling me, I went up to him at a show one year and I apologized. And I said, hey, dude, I know we argued about this all the time. And you said, do it like RCDD. And I'm like, no, we're AV. We do it different. Like, I get it now. I get it. And he said, okay, promise me you're going to tell people this. So I'm telling everybody, like, don't make a cable with an 8PHCN, punch it down and buy a certified Cat 6A patch cable. These things have been tested. You know, when I go to test people's patch cables with a Versiv, with an actual bandwidth tester, they always fail. There's very few systems that will work because it's the crosstalk, you know, and when you crunch down on an end and it takes everything out of geometric correctness, or you just untwist it a little bit too much, that your crosstalk spec gets blown out. And you don't know this until you start certifying cables. Pin to pin checker, yeah, pin to pin works great, but I could test 2,000 feet of cable pin to pin and it'll look great. Your bandwidth is going to be poo-poo because you don't have enough voltage. If you untwist them too much, you're going to get crosstalk. So we started doing the research on the ROI of just buying the cable, and it's so like the return on the investment of just buying patch cables and punching them down above the ceiling. If you have to run one down, you know, put a biscuit block above the ceiling and then putting a patch cable down. It's huge. It's massive. Knowing the difference between links and channels as an AV person and what they do and how we have to structure our installs for that. So I promised I would always say, do it the right way. And I'm been on a crusade, do it the right way. And the curriculum developers are actually working on new curriculum at AVIXA. And I said, dude, make me promise. You like making an 8PHC patch cable, that's a spare tire. And, you know, if we have to make a patch cable to use quickie, but for installs and stuff, we do permanent stuff we're going to plan out, like
spend the money.
Yeah. Punch it down into a patch bay or to a biscuit block or some kind of punch down wall plate, and then use a patch cable, buy a patch cable, and it's going to be so much better on your install. And it was funny. Yesterday I was talking to Zach, and Zach's like, okay, so we're going to use a patch cable and we're going to punch it down. But if you have to do this, I'm like, okay, so if you have to put your hand on a hot stove, do it like this, right? And he's like, okay, I get you. Like, if you have to do the wrong thing, do it the best way possible. No, don't do the wrong thing.
Makes sense.
Crisis averted. Like, why do I have to teach you how to put out fires? I want to teach you how to be fireproof and not get burned in the first place.
Very true. Do you see yourself, or do you see Aura teaching end users on your training, or is it more going to be the customers that have your equipment already? Or are you going to try and aim it at both?
Don't know.
Yeah.
I got to do the needs analysis first, man.
Needs analysis first, yeah.
Like, you could, I am not going to design an education system without knowing what needs to be taught. If I make plans on, we're going to teach this and that and this and that, that's like going into a design saying, okay, we're going to put a video wall in. Well, you don't know what we're doing. Oh, it's okay. We're going to put a video wall in.
Yeah. It looks fancy.
Have a huddle space. Like, no, I am going in completely open-minded. We're going to do the research. We're going to do the data analytics. We are going to see what the customers need. That's my very first thing, is what do the customers need? What do Aurora customers need from Aurora educationally? And as soon as we find that out, then we will do designing a curriculum, do a DACM. Then we will start putting stuff together. But before I know what's broken, I'm not going to go in there and say, I'm fixing this and fixing this and fixing this. Because A, it might not need it. B, it might be the wrong way. And C, we might miss something we really need. So just like an AV project, before I do the design, I need to do the needs analysis.
Yeah, totally. Do you see yourself traveling as much?
I don't know. Again, it's going to depend on what the customers need, what Aurora needs. If they say, hey, we talked and we said there might be travel. And that was the end of it. I know I'm going to be going to ISE. I'm going to be going to trade shows and whatnot. But as far as customers, I want to see what they need. And you know me, I'm not opposed to picking up and going someplace at the drop of a hat. If they need me to come to California or Nevada, or they need me to come to Munich, sure. And Marcus is the same way. We'll pick up and go at the drop of a hat if we're needed. If we can do it online, if we could do something, to save the customer and the company money, if we could do this, if my internet's not max headroom in me, we'll do it online. We'll figure out the best way to service the community, service the clients. If anybody knows me, I'm not a money waster. I want to make sure that we have that I'm definitely not. I've never tried to waste member money or done. I've actually been very stingy with members' money. That's how I looked at AVIXA when we were spending money on stuff. If I was a member and I was paying for this, would I be pissed off? Like, I was very, very frugal with member money. I'm going to be the same way with a for-profit company. Like, I'm going to spend money when we have to, when it's going to make a better product. And Paul's the same way. I talked to Paul. This is one of the topics we talked about last night. And he said, I'll put the money into it if it's going to give us a good ROI, not just, cost doesn't equal price. ROI is not just how much money you get back. Is there something else there? Is it going to make a better experience? Is it going to, do good for the client? Man, I love when we have these talks, because it's not all about money. I mean, we're the business and we have to make money, but like Paul really is into, I want the clients to have the best experience possible and not have to pay an arm and a leg for it. So again, that's, when we talk, I really got that more from him than anybody I've talked to. I got that feeling like he's serious about this, is doing stuff the right way. He really wants a good product for the sake of a good product and a happy client, not just, how can we make a buck? I mean, making a buck's cool.
I think the most interesting thing is that you didn't approach them; they approached you. Was Marcus approached before you, or did he do it at the same time? Because I'm sure you were on the phone straight away going, guess what I just had a phone call from?
Well, Marcus and I were both approached at the same time.
Okay.
Marcus actually took the call first because I was teaching install, and Marcus talked to them first, but I already knew, like, they hit us both up at the same time. So I knew Marcus was talking to them on a day I was teaching. So after I got done teaching, I called him and I'm like, hey, give me the scoop, brother. And he told me about it. And I'm like, okay. And so the next day I talked to Paul and I talked to some of the other people at Aurora, and everything that, Marcus talked about, we talked about. They wanted to hear my viewpoint on it. And it was funny. There so many comments of, wow, you guys really like, the same thing, like, hey, we don't know what's broke yet. We got to do a needs analysis. Like, I don't know if it's an instructor thing. We have a process that we do. We're very strict about our process, even though we approach things from different viewpoints. There's a way to do things, and we both believe in the way. So yeah, we talked, and then I talked to Paul, and I had a nice long conversation. Everything, we both consider everything was like, they called us at the same time, they hired us at the same time. We are equals as far as hierarchy and whatnot. We're both equals. And man, when Marcus was there and he was an instructor, staff instructor, and I was a senior staff instructor, we never had that. Well, I'm senior staff instructor. We work as a team.
Yeah.
Because I had another cert, I had the D before Marcus did. I was a senior staff instructor. Great. That's awesome. I don't know jack about networks. Marcus teach me, and Marcus taught me. So we work together, and there's no, you're senior to me, you're junior to me, you report to me, I report to you. We do our thing, man. We're a team.
You told me earlier on that you're doing a virtual drinking session later on as a sort of a going away. I remember doing that when I changed jobs from one university to the other. It feels weird. Do you think that the main party is going to be ISE, where everyone just goes wow and wants to have a drink with Chuck?
I don't know. The main party is everywhere we're at, man. No matter what, AV, Roki, ISE, Infocom. If you want to have a drink with Chuck, come have a drink with Chuck. Chuck might not be drinking as much beer as he used to, might be doing some iced teas. I did turn 50, so I am getting old. But I always welcome anybody to come up and have a conversation. You know me. Come up and talk to me, come up chat with me. Some people's like, hey, could we just come up and chit chat with you for a while? Yeah, we're hanging out. Your AV community, do it.
So
Pam,
how am I going to find an excuse now, Chuck, for you to come over to Ireland?
Buy some of my gear.
Buy some of your gear.
Well, okay, so check it out. We're actually, Aurora does have some stuff in the UK, and we're trying to get out everywhere more. I'm trying to get the word out about their architecture and some of their equipment. Once I get in and get settled in and whatnot, I'll get you in touch with the sales rep, and you'll talk about stuff, and then you could call me and say, hey, we have this kind of problem. What kind of solution can you team up? What can you do? And let me see this. And this is, again, going to be one of my jobs, is I'll put stuff together in my lab and show you how things switch. And if you want to see how it's coded, we can talk about the open architecture and how things are structured. And if it's the right thing for you, we can give it a shot. And, if you end up liking it and start buying more of it and putting stuff in, I'm sure I'll be over in the UK and in Ireland and wherever Aurora gear is, and people need educational assistance or support. Marcus and I will be there.
I'm Justin Dawson. That's been episode 62 of the All Things TechIE Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Tell all of your friends. And I'll see you on episode 63, where we will be talking more about Elon Musk, social media, and a lot more in the tech world. See you then.